Howdy, historians! Today we're going to be talking about the Western frontier.
Animals of the frontier. As America expanded, bison became a new resource for American settlers. Bison were primarily used as a food source. Additionally, their dung was used for fuel, as well as their hides for clothing, lariats, as shown here, and harnesses. Bison also were killed for sport and entertainment. The quickly diminishing bison population displayed Americans' greed and their lack of desire for preservation of the newfound Western resources. This would foreshadow possible conflict with Native Americans due to the differing views on respect for nature and animals.
Animals on the frontier. Cows were in high demand in the Midwest and East, but there was no way to get them there healthily for a profit. The railroad solved this problem by allowing cattle shipment to the Midwest and East. As the cattle market became more accessible, meat packing was industrialized. Now meat was often shipped east in refrigerated chain cars. The long drive was a trail that cowboys took from Texas to railroad terminals with thousands of cattle. Terminal points were known as cow towns. This trek was profitable for cowboys until overgrazing lessened access to grass along the drive, and railroads brought in homesteaders and sheep herders that put up many barbed wire fences to obstruct the cattle. After this, many cowboys became plowboys and farmhands. Companies turned cattle breeding into a business. This breeding of few but meaty cows solved overproduction, expansion, and grazing.
Farmers' frontier. The Homestead Act was a piece of legislation granting someone 160 acres of land for only $30, under the conditions that they would live on the land for 5 years and improve it in some way. Through this act, many farmers were able to accumulate large sums of land and have access to the new frontier. Due to the semi-arid conditions and frequent drought, much of the land promised to the farmers was infertile, and the opportunity did not seem as fruitful as once hoped. Corporations would send dummy homesteaders to scope out the good land to ensure quality of crops once they purchased land within the West. Prairies proved unexpectedly to be very fertile once plowed over. As wheat prices increased, more farmers moved past the 100th meridian to attempt to farm the supposedly infertile land. After a 6-year drought, many farmers were left unsuccessful. Dry farming, which was the frequent harvesting of shallow crops, became popular and caused the Dust Bowl several decades later. Wheat, which was imported from Russia, could withstand the cold and drought and proved very successful for Western farmers. Farmers turned away from producing crops such as corn and began producing drought-resistant crops such as sorghum. Farmers instituted new irrigation projects to turn the once barren West into a fruitful frontier.
Mining. Men, popularly known as 59ers, rushed to California, the Rockies in Colorado, Nevada, and other western states for gold. When the gold was quickly panned out, some went back east, while others remained to mine for silver or become grain farmers. In 1864, Nevada was brought into the Union because of its fruitful Comstock lode. The Comstock lode was a large amount of gold and silver discovered in Nevada. The large influx of population caused Nevada and other western states to be quickly included into the Union, so railroads could run there to spread out the American population. The gold rush and mining shaped the culture of the western frontier. The large influx of people caused boom towns out west. Soon other businesses followed, such as saloons. This led to vigilante justice and lynch law, due to the lack of law, order, and structure, for the town's sole purpose was only to house the miners. Once the gold ran out, the boom towns were abandoned and left as ghost towns. Because of the lack of social structure, there was less division and oppression, especially with women. The women out west mainly ran boarding houses or worked as prostitutes in saloons. There was more freedom and equality for women, so they earned the right to vote in Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and Idaho before women could in the East. Once this gold was exhausted, mining became industrialized, and ore-breaking machinery was needed to reach the underground gold beneath the quartz. Only big companies could fund these industries because of the large expenses. Now, corporations were replacing the individual miners heading west. The mined deposits were used to fund the Civil War effort, encourage the expansion of railroads, and enhance conflict between whites and Native Americans in the new territory of the frontier as America expanded. The Far West coming of age. The Western population boomed from the 1870s to the 1890s. Vast stretches of fertile plains, formerly occupied by Indians in the District of Oklahoma, was made available to settlers by the federal government. Sooners earned their name by illegally entering the Oklahoma Territory earlier than they were permitted. They were forced to wait until 1889 for the legal entrance. The state quickly accumulated 60,000 inhabitants and became known as the Sooner State. And a little fun fact for you is that the University of Oklahoma has their mascot as the Sooners.
The fading frontier. In 1890, it was announced that for the first time in America's history, a frontier line was no longer distinct. Frederick Jackson Turner wrote The Significance of the Frontier in American History, an extremely influential essay written about American history. The Westerners quickly realized that the land was not limitless, and the government decided to reserve some land for national parks. Yellowstone, established in 1872, was the first national park. The frontier was also a state of mind and a symbol of opportunity. The frontier had also been a safety net for many Americans. If times got hard, people could fall back on the far west to be an area for them to farm and become prosperous. However, this option was now gone. Employers in the East kept their wages high, so their workers would not move west while they still had the option to prosper there. The federal government was directly involved in the development of Western economy and society with its large-scale projects and land ownership.
Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day.